Hi, this is a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, it's all we're talking about experiences in this foreign land that I find myself in, and it's very funny because as an artist, I've been able to get around some of the things which other foreigners have found very difficult. You don't speak the language, so you're going into a store, especially into a hardware store, because when we first arrived on Bohol, at least, and we started building the house, then I needed to be able to get materials, and that included buying tools, like simple tools. When we first started, and we decided that because we couldn't afford to have people work for us at that time, we had to build this house that you can see at the back. There, that house is all built in metal stud. And so we need very simple tools. That was one of the other big pluses, is that we needed very simple tools. One of them was called tin snips, and they're like metal scissors. So you go around and need a pair of tin snips. So I go to the hardware store and I say I need a pair of tin snips, right? And they're struggling with my descriptions. They're struggling with English. Now there's a very common phrase here, and it's called nosebleed. Now Filipinos mostly speak pretty good English, but it's not fluent, you know. Well, then they have what they call, is universally called, a nosebleed. In fact, they look at each other when a foreigner walks in. Until you become known, they look at each other. Nobody wants to serve you at first, in the nicest possible way. One girl will look at another as if to say, "Oh, please don't expect me to serve that foreigner. I'll have a nosebleed." Well, eventually you get over that. But what I learned was that if I tried, when I went in for a pair of tin snips, so I went into the hardware store that I become accustomed to going into, and I say a pair of tin snips, a pair of cutters, and then I do the usual. I do like this. This is the universal mime for scissors. So they bring out a pair of scissors. No, I don't want a pair of stinners. I want metal. Well, they have one word that they've learned for that particular material, and if you're not speaking in that word, then they don't understand you. Well, this is not just confined to, say, the Philippines, because when I was in America, I would go into McDonald's, and in McDonald's they would have mostly Mexican, Hispanic servers, and the servers have learned their English very well, but they've learned it in the same way that a child learns her ABC, right? So if you said to a child, "Let me hear you say the ABC," they go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and then they get interrupted. Now they can't start from where they left off, so they start again, A, B, C, D, E, and if they get interrupted again, they start A, B, C, D, E. They can't separate it because they've learned the whole thing. Well, if you go into McDonald's and you go in and you say, "Good morning, I'd like a big," let me see, I have to remember what it's like to go in and order on it. "I'd like a Big Mac, small fries, medium Coke, 2 apple pies." And they say, "Good morning, can I help you?" You say, "Yes, I'd like a Big Mac, small fries, 2 apple pies, and a medium Coke." "Yes, so what would you like?" "Well, I'd like a Big Mac, small fries, medium Coke, 2 apple pies." You say, "Would you like fries with that Big Mac?" So they can't. They've learned their English very well, and they're doing their very best. and they're doing better at their English than you are at your Spanish, so don't complain. Well, it's the same here. They've learned a certain word, and that's the word that they can. So what I would do is I would go in and say, can I have a pen? And they'll give me a pen and a piece of paper. And then I would draw, because I'm an artist, I can draw. I draw. I remember going in for tin snips into this, my favourite hardware store, going for the tin snips, and I draw a very accurate drawing of a pair of tin snips. And I'd look at the drawing and say, no, we don't have that. So I said, well, I'm sure that you must have it. No, we don't have that. So I said, well, give me my drawing back, even though it's on their paper, hand them their pen. And I'd go on to the next hardware store. Now, the next hardware store must have had easier drawing recognition, because as soon as they saw that my drawing, they immediately brought out exactly the exact replica of my drawing. So now, I bought the tin snips, and I go back, and later I've got my new tin snips, and I've got them there, and I've got them in a bag. And so the owner of the first hardware store is very curious. Did you get those things? I said, well, yes, I did. Well, can I see them? And I get my tin snips out, and I show her the tin snips, and she says, we've got those. I said, well, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you sell them to me? Well, we didn't know what you wanted. I said, I showed you my drawing. So then I get my drawing out, and I put the tin snips next to the drawing, which is a near perfect representative of the tin snips. And then they look at me and say, oh, we didn't know. So even if you can draw, sometimes it doesn't always work. Well, being able to draw is better than nothing. So that's just one of the little challenges. This is a foreigner living in the Philippines on drawing recognition, and talk to you again soon. Bye for now.